Good night.
On World News Tonight this Friday, the NATO war with the Serbs. NATO says it shot down 2 MiG fighter planes over next-door Bosnia. NATO says it's begun to shift its attention to Serbian forces attacking ethnic Albanians. And in Michigan today, Dr. Jack Kevorkian, convicted of murder.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening. In the war between NATO and the Serbs today, based on NATO reports, the war almost escalated quite dramatically into next-door Bosnia. Let's go first to the map. Over Bosnia, which is right next door to Serbia, NATO aircraft shot down 2 MiG-29s belonging to the Yugoslavian Air Force. They were headed in the direction of Tuzla, where 10,000 American soldiers helping to keep the peace in Bosnia are based. In Serbia, over Serbia largely, this is now a very tough, virtually one-sided war of attrition. NATO planes, largely American, continue to blast away at Serb positions. There has been no significant defense by the Serbs, no NATO aircraft lost that we know of. In the other war, however, Serbs against the ethnic Albanians, or Kosovars, various reports suggest today a particularly brutal day. And NATO's supreme commander said today that the air campaign probably cannot prevent the Serbs from their campaign against the ethnic Albanians. We're going to begin with the firefight between NATO and the Serbs. ABC's John McWethy is at the Pentagon. John.
Peter, as far as the shoot-down of those 2 MiGs are concerned, American officials say they do not yet know exactly what the Serbs were up to, but it certainly does appear that they were trying to escalate this fight beyond the borders of Serbia. With the third night of the air campaign now underway, NATO officials were finally beginning to provide an accounting of how they claim to be doing.
We have now struck over 50 targets, and our battle damage assessment is showing us that our attacks have been effective.
Gun camera video shows attacks against an airfield, an ammunition storage depot with huge secondary explosions, and an aircraft maintenance facility. NATO assessed the damage as moderate to severe. But the airstrikes have done nothing to slow the Serbian offensive in Kosovo, which by all accounts has become even more brutal, with kidnappings and murder now commonplace.
The United States is extremely alarmed by reports of an escalating pattern of Serbian attacks on Kosovar Albanian civilians.
Much to the frustration of some policymakers, NATO military leaders will not risk low-flying attacks on Serb troops in Kosovo until the capabilities of the Serb air defense network have been drastically reduced. That could take days more of systematic bombing, especially since the Serbs have hidden so many of their anti-aircraft missiles, in essence daring NATO to fly low.
Knocking out a sophisticated, a redundant, ready air defense system takes time, and it's not something that we can do in a couple of days.
Even so, the Pentagon argues that the air attacks are beginning to turn towards Serb troops and the facilities that support them. But no one is predicting when those low-level flights might begin, the kind of flights that can inflict pain directly on the Serb forces that are engaged in ethnic cleansing. Peter?
Thank you, John. John McWethy at the Pentagon today. We grant you this is a little complicated. Let's go inside Kosovo now. A senior State Department official told us that by the weekend they will have proof of systematic genocide by the Serbs inside Kosovo against the ethnic Albanians. So once again tonight we have a report based on the few accounts from Kosovo that are both available and credible. Here's ABC's Hillary Brown.
Only a handful of terrified ethnic Albanians managed to run the gauntlet of Serb checkpoints and get out of Kosovo today. They said they were lucky to escape with their lives. There was a lot of shooting last night, this man is saying. The worst reports came from the people of Godin, near the Albanian border. They said that Serb soldiers went into a primary school and executed the principal and his entire staff in front of the students.
They said that the village was raided by Serb forces, burned down, and they alleged that 20 men from the village were shot dead by the Serb forces, and women and children were pushed across the border, told to go to Albania or be shot.
Belgrade TV showed these pictures of Pristina today, saying the damage was done by NATO warplanes. But an eyewitness, too frightened to be identified, says these buildings were looted and burned by armed Serb civilians, part of what she described as a reign of terror.
You either find dead bodies in the middle of towns, no matter which town of Kosovo is, or they are kidnapped. People are disappearing. Bodies are found in the vehicles of civilians. It means these are the people who tried to flee. This is terror. When we saw the films from Second World War, we thought it was only films, and the same images are repeating now by the beginning of 21st century.
Most Kosovo Albanians wanted this NATO bombing campaign, but they freely admit that so far it has only made their lives more dangerous and more miserable. Hillary Brown, ABC News, London.
When those MiG fighters were intercepted over Bosnia today, it was a real reminder how this conflict might spread. There were 10,000, as we said, American soldiers on peacekeeping duty there. And farther to the south, on the Kosovo border with Macedonia, there are some nervous NATO soldiers as well. ABC's Mike Lee is there.
These NATO troops were placed on high alert today. There are 10,000 of them here all along the border. NATO officials are worried for two reasons. These peacekeeping forces suddenly find themselves in the dangerous position of being the most convenient targets for Serb reprisals. These are Serb troops watching from a hilltop just across the border. There are 16,000 of them. They are better armed than NATO forces here and capable of moving quickly into Macedonia.
NATO forces in this country are taking the appropriate measures to protect themselves and implementing other measures that may require should Serb forces attack these NATO forces.
NATO officials are also worried about this: violence here in Macedonia by demonstrators who are pro-Serb and anti-NATO. In 3 incidents this week, NATO patrols have been attacked with firebombs and rocks. 5 soldiers have been injured. Tonight, what began as a mission of peace has now become a tense and lonely watch for what the Serbs might do next. Mike Lee, ABC News, Valis, Macedonia.
And some demonstrations outside the region, or elsewhere in the region really, against the United States today. In Athens, thousands of people marched to the U.S. Embassy and clashed with riot police. Greece is a NATO member, but broke ranks and demanded an end to the bombings. In Moscow, largely allied with the Serbs, a smaller demonstration outside the U.S. Embassy. Russia has ordered NATO's representatives out of the country. And in Toronto, police warned Serb leaders of a crackdown there after demonstrators set fire to the U.S. consulate in Toronto last night. ABC's Sam Donaldson is with us from the White House tonight. Sam, it may be a little hard for the audience to follow, but not at the White House. How confident are they about what's going on?
Well, Peter, put that question to them, and they will say, as one official did, this is difficult work, but we are as confident as we can be. In fact, they're quite nervous about the possibility of the war widening into Bosnia or elsewhere, about the next phase of the bombing, which could be low level and could incur casualties because of the surface-to-air missiles which may be lying in wait. And they're also nervous about the strains that could be developing within the NATO alliance.
I was going to ask you to be more specific about that. You have the Greeks, you had the Italians nervous the other day, and the Russians are not a member of alliance but partners to it.
Well, the Greeks have already said from Athens that they think the bombing should stop. Ask officials here about that, and they'll say, no, the Greek government supports us, as if the message from Athens came from somebody who was not the Greek government. They're worried about the Italians, although the Italian Prime Minister has clarified earlier remarks, which seemed to indicate he was going in the direction of the Greeks against the bombing. He's now back on board, but perhaps not really. And the trick, Peter, here is to believe that they hope they can get this over with fairly quickly before all of these things escalate.
Okay, Sam, thanks very much. Sam Donaldson, the White House. In fairness, the NATO alliance looks pretty cohesive today, with the exception of the Greeks and mildly the Italians. When we come back, some of the other news. Dr. Jack Kevorkian, guilty of murder.
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. Brought to you by DirecTV.
We have new facts about a nationwide conspiracy. Is members of her family happy? They're not forced to stay, but once they join, they never want to leave. Here's their latest recruitment effort.
Now buy a DirecTV system and get free installation. plus 3 free months of programming with no long-term commitments. So hurry, sign up today.
Someday we will all be one of them. Who are these people?
DirecTV. What are you looking at?
You still there, Hank?
Yeah, kid.
They sprayed us good, huh?
Yeah, good.
I never thought we'd get sprayed in the garden. But we'll be okay, huh? I mean, we've been sprayed before, huh, Hank?
Sure, kid.
But I gotta tell you, my roots hurt real bad. Hank, whoever did this is gonna pay. Hank, they're gonna pay big. Hank!
Roundup kills weeds where others can't. Roundup, no root, no weed, no problem.
Nancy will have to see from near to far almost 1,000 times today. Her eyes will focus on 40 labels, 60 charts, and 100 smiles. And in all that time, she'll never once think about the science that allows her to focus instantly at all distances. Nancy just knows that her Verilux lenses help her see better. And for her, that's a very comforting thought. Verilux, the comfort of better vision. For more information, call toll-free 1-800-VERILUX.
No more excuses. Zyban is here. Prescription medicine, only available from your doctor. Ask your doctor about Zyban or call 1-888-650-PILL to find out more. Zyban. Now you have another choice.
Want to color your gray beard or mustache and look natural? Get Just for Men Gel.
You look so natural, no one can tell with Just for Men Gel.
Brush in and in 5 minutes, gray is gone.
No one can tell with Just for Men Gel.
In Michigan today, Dr. Jack Kevorkian was convicted of second-degree murder for giving a lethal injection to a terminally ill man. It is the first guilty verdict for the country's most famous advocate of mercy killing. ABC's Terry Moran reports from Pontiac.
After more than 12 hours of deliberations, the jury rendered its verdict on Jack Kevorkian.
With regard to count 1, what is your verdict?
Count 1 is guilty of lesser charge of second-degree murder.
Kevorkian watched impassively as each juror affirmed the verdict.
Was that and is that your verdict?
Yes, it is.
The second-degree murder conviction carries a sentence of 10 to 25 years in prison. After the verdict, the prosecution asked the judge to revoke Kevorkian's bond and lock him up immediately.
I think that this is a candidate that's a risk to the public. He has just been deemed a felon. He has been deemed a murderer.
But the judge asked Kevorkian to promise not to help any more people to die while he awaits an April 14th sentencing.
No assisted suicide, no injection, no anything.
No, I kept my word up till now and I'll keep it.
With that, the judge let Kevorkian go. The prosecutors relished the first jury verdict against Kevorkian after 9 years and 4 trials.
And what we did in this case is we tried to put it on a legal playing field instead of an emotional playing field, and we succeeded in doing that.
Kevorkian's attorney blasted the jury's verdict.
We believe that it's certainly unjust to try to equate an act of compassion with an act of murder.
By taking the life of Thomas Yauk last September, Jack Kevorkian crossed a line between assisted suicide and euthanasia, and thus raised the stakes in court. By convicting him of murder today, the jurors showed they were not willing to cross that line with him. Terry Moran, ABC News, Pontiac, Michigan.
In New York City today, 4 police officers have been charged with murder for killing an unarmed man. The officers, all white, fired 41 shots at African immigrant Amadou Diallo, hitting him 19 times. The shooting and the mayor's defense of the police has caused hundreds of people to protest daily at New York's police headquarters and have themselves arrested intentionally. Today, the Reverend Jesse Jackson was among those who took part. Doctors who advise the Food and Drug Administration recommended today that sales of the controversial diabetes drug Rezulin be allowed to continue. But they also recommended that it be used only with other diabetes drugs, not alone. As we reported on the broadcast last night, Rezulin has been linked to more than 24 deaths from liver failure. On Wall Street today, the Dow Jones Industrial Average was down more than 14 points to close at 98.22. On the NASDAQ, stocks were down about 15.5 points. When we come back, nuclear waste from the Cold War into a desert grave.
I became interested in working in
the brokerage industry when I was very young. I went to Harvard. I majored in economics. We had a last trade at 59 and 7/16. That was down 4 and 3/16 on the day. Throughout my life, I've had to work hard and had to focus to get where I am, and I'm going to bring that ethic to my job here at Schwab. Charles Schwab, Adam, 122998. Anytime you have a company that's been this successful at Schwab, obviously the employees are driving that, and I hope that I benefit Schwab in their growth and in their success, and I will.
That All Days Freshness takes me to a new perspective, on a different path, through open doors.
Introducing something new, individually wrapped All Days panty liners. A unique core and fresh weave help absorb moisture and odor. And now they're wrapped for freshness anytime, anywhere.
For a joyride, to important gatherings, to another world.
New individually wrapped All Days panty liners from Always. Feeling fresh is being free.
If you can do this, you can make wood beautiful with Minwax. And if you can do this, you can give wood lasting protection. Turning a house into a beautiful home is as easy as turning to Minwax.
Put on your best suit. You are cordially invited to Lobster Fest at Red Lobster. Indulge in all of your lobster favorites at the most casual prices of the year. Escape to Red Lobster for Lobster Fest. Hurry, ends April 4th.
Little sister, I admit it. I was snooping in your medicine cabinet last night. Any surprises? You switched to X-Lax.
Yeah, Correctol works with something artificial. X-Lax works with natural senna.
Very effectively, too.
You tried it.
Today's gentle X-Lax is the only laxative with the X-Lax Morning Guarantee. 2 out of 3 users agree. It's dependable overnight.
X-Lax, what a find.
What a snoop.
Today's X-Lax, good morning, guaranteed.
In the New Mexico desert today, a milestone in the country's nuclear history. A load of radioactive waste was taken overnight from the Los Alamos National Laboratory to the world's first permanent nuclear waste dump outside Carlsbad. The facility is enormously controversial, and ABC's Barry Serafin is there.
The truck carrying the radioactive waste left Los Alamos last night after 20 years of arguments over whether its destination was safe. WIPP, the Waste Isolation Pilot Plant, 8 miles of tunnels and storage rooms carved out of ancient salt formations half a mile underground. The government says waste from this country's bomb factories can be stored here forever.
This waste is not going to disappear. We got to get rid of it. We got to store it safely. And we have a facility that'll do it.
WIPP is designed to take waste from 23 nuclear weapon sites around the country. Millions of people live near those sites, only about 100,000 near WIPP. But until now, the $2 billion facility has remained empty. Opponents argued, among other things, that oil and gas drilling, hundreds or even thousands of years from now, could rupture the subterranean dump.
Well, you don't put nuclear waste in an area where drilling for oil and gas is going to make the site like Swiss cheese.
Last night, near Santa Fe, the truck rolled past about 100 protesters. Just before 4 a.m., it pulled up to the gate at WIPP as employees cheered. There was one last check of the cargo, about 600 pounds of plutonium-contaminated waste. The first highly symbolic shipment of waste will be housed here in this vault. And over the next 3 decades, nearly 1 million drums of radioactive waste are to be entombed in these man-made caverns. Assuming, that is, that future court challenges do not stall the government's plans for WIPP again. Barry Serafin, ABC News, near Carlsbad, New Mexico.
2 items overseas today. In France, officials said that at least 35 people died in a fire in the Mont Blanc tunnel, which connects Italy and France. The fire started on Wednesday in a truck. It spread, trapping other drivers inside the tunnel, which is 7 miles long. Firefighters did not manage to put it out until today. It has been an historic day, genuinely historic in South Africa. The president, Nelson Mandela, gave his final address to Parliament today. Mr. Mandela, who is 80, will not run for re-election.
I am the product of Africa and had long a cherished dream of a rebirth that can now be realized so that all of her children may play in the sun.
Nelson Mandela!
We have laid the foundations, he said, for a better life. A little earlier in the broadcast, you heard a young woman talking about going from war to war to war. In a moment, the century on Friday.
The whole thing was just tragic. I mean, tragic for everybody. My God, the Balkans have been going on for generations.
The treaty that ended World War I, responsible for war today.
When you serve French's traditional green bean casserole, made with the tasty, crispy crunch of French's French fried onions, it'll disappear as quickly as the holidays.
Smile, you've got French's.
Bonnie Plant Farm grows over 100 million plants. Every time we water, we feed these plants with Miracle-Gro. Look at the roots on this rascal. It wraps all the way around the plant. The quality, the vitality, the character of the plant is much better with Miracle-Gro.
But I wasn't gone long.
Your husband was right here?
I went to check the tickets.
Bingo.
What?
Have you checked the Chili Dog Express?
Oh, no. Hot dogs give Jack indigestion and heartburn.
Not this time.
What is it?
Looks like the remains of a minty fresh Pepsid AC chewable.
Chewable?
Now the first chewable that stops heartburn before it starts. Great tasting Pepsid AC chewables.
Jack?
Start living heartburn free with new Pepsid AC chewables.
I'll be seeing you in all the old familiar places that this heart of mine embraces all day through.
Have you seen Transitions lenses lately? Indoors, the changing tint is clearer. Outdoors, they're the darkest Transitions lenses ever. For all-day comfort and convenience, Transitions lenses, right in any light.
I'll be seeing you.
Visit our website or call 1-877-4-TRANSITIONS.
Welcome to My Mailboxes, Etc. This is a full-service copy center. Need thousands of copies? No problem. We do it all, from start to finish. All you have to do is drop it off here. We'll take care of the rest. Say you have a big proposal. We'll color copy it, bind it, and you're on your way. Presentations, calendars, brochures, menus, we'll even laminate, all with a personal touch. Can your copy store do that? Mailboxes, Etc. We're making business easier. We're making life easier.
Bacon! Bacon! Where's the bacon? I smell bacon! 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 Gotta be bacon! Only one thing smells like bacon! That's bacon! Bacon, 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 bacon! There! From that bag! What's it say? I can't read! Please, please, give me what's in the bag! Chewy, yummy, smoky bacon!
There you go.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy! No, 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 no! It's bacon!
No, it's Bacon Strips, brand dog snack from Purina. Bacon Strips. Dogs don't know it's not bacon.
It's bacon!
The best way to stop suffering from allergies is never to start. This is Nasal Crom. You heard right. Nasal Crom. It's allergy prevention. Nasal Crom doesn't just relieve allergies. It flat out prevents them, preventing the natural defenses in your nose from going haywire. So you can live like a person with no allergies. Nasal Crom's like nothing else. No drowsiness, no jitters, no rebound congestion. Nasal Crom. The best way to stop suffering is never to start.
On 2020 Tonight, a simple cure for chronic back pain? Impossible. Or maybe not. This doctor says he has a cure and it can work for you.
It gave me my life back.
A surprising cure that could end back pain forever. 2020 Tonight.
Finally tonight, the century on Friday. As we get to the end of the century, faced again with war in Serbia and in Bosnia, it's only too clear that one version of the century could indeed be called From Sarajevo to Sarajevo. The First World War, the war that Americans thought would end all wars, started in Sarajevo, the capital of Bosnia. And every day we can see what is happening in the Balkans now. The sad truth is that what we are seeing today has its roots in the treaty which formally ended the First World War 80 years ago. Tonight, the Treaty of Versailles and the trouble it caused. The First World War began on a street in Sarajevo in Bosnia when the heir to the Austro-Hungarian Empire, Archduke Ferdinand, was assassinated by a 19-year-old Serbian nationalist named Gavrilo Princip. When the war was over, 4 years and 10 million deaths later, Europe was in ruins. The United States had come into the war late to support the Allied side against the Germans, but America made the difference. And when President Wilson went to the Versailles Peace Conference at the end of the war, he hoped the conference would usher in what he called a new international order, composed of democratic states born from the wreckage of World War I.
When Woodrow Wilson goes to Paris for the peace conference and goes to Versailles, he is greeted like a rock star. An important element of Wilson's worldview was self-determination. Every people should be able to choose the government they want to live in. Nobody should have to live in empires.
Wilson's campaign had been building enthusiasm for him throughout Europe for months. And when he arrived, the streets of Paris were filled with Czechs and Armenians, Kurds and Albanians, Cossacks, Poles, Serbs, dozens of peoples who hoped through him to stake their claim to nationhood. But here at Versailles were sowed the seeds of the present crisis in the Balkans.
I think most people who signed it would have been able right then to tell you that it was going to fail and that it was going to occasion nothing but loss for a great many people.
And here is why. The largest of the warring European powers, the Austro-Hungarian Empire, which collapsed, was divided into a new Austria, a new Hungary, and two more arbitrary countries, Czechoslovakia, which knit together Czechs and Slovaks, who had no shared ethnicity or history, and the even more bizarre Yugoslavia, which brought together Croats, Serbs, Slovenes, Macedonians, Montenegrins, and Kosovars. The diplomats simply didn't anticipate what it meant to mix such different people.
When people would point out to Wilson that many of these countries, these new nations, had within them minorities, border disputes, Wilson was dumbstruck.
But the whole thing was just tragic. I mean, tragic for everybody. It's still tragic for us today. We're still paying for this stupid, look at the Balkans.
In the end, Versailles was a devastating failure. Many historians believe that the tragedy of the Second World War, just 20 years later, began here. For President Wilson, it was a personal defeat from which he never recovered. And what we see in Serbia and Kosovo today is a reminder of short-sightedness 80 years ago, when the victors of World War I redrew the map without much thought of what it would mean to the future. On our website, thecentury.com, you can find more on the ramifications of the Versailles Treaty, plus first-hand accounts of the World War I experience, and you can talk about today. We end tonight with our top story. The NATO war with Yugoslavia's Serbs nearly escalated into neighboring Bosnia today. NATO says it shot down 2 MiG fighter planes over Bosnia. And NATO has begun to shift its attention to Serbian forces attacking ethnic Albanians. Witnesses say the Serb offensives have become even more brutal. That is our report on World News Tonight. Don't forget 2020 later. And on Nightline, trying to convince America to back the current mission to Kosovo. I'm Peter Jennings. Have a good weekend. Good night.
Sunday on This Week with Sam Donaldson and Cokie Roberts.
What will it take to stop the massacres in Kosovo? The latest from the administration. ABC Sunday.
This has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source. ABCnews.com, now a part of the Go Network.
Sunday on an all-new Practice.
You can't force us to take this case.
You people fight for murderers better than anybody.
Defending a killer is one thing.
Look at what he did. You want him free one day?
Living with it is another.
This guy killed a young. You were in my position. I would never be in your position. You go to hell.
An all-new Practice. ABC Sunday, 10/9 Central, right after 2020.
Now, News 2 at 6. First, fast, accurate.
Is another Saddam. He is born to kill people.
Nashville's Albanian community speaks out against Yugoslavia and for U.S. ground troops.
Good evening, everyone. We'll have that story in just a moment. But first, a major development tonight in the crash investigation of country star George Jones.
News 2's Kate Merrill has been following the developments. She joined us now live from the Williamson County Courthouse. Kate?
The Williamson County District Attorney is just